Today's day
230.
250 must do something.
Yes, my
Yes.
God.
And he keeps on asking.
We can. Whenever. Yeah, so maybe I'm going to Lanka next week, so when I come back.
We start the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Very good.
Around the 12th. Yeah, go for it, no problem.
Is he it's okay?
I'm already live.
Are you live already?
Yes.
Kathy, can I acknowledge you back there? I'll do it anyway. Hi, good evening and welcome to day 230. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. We're not quite at 330 yet. At GGY, our roundtable discussion on a Wednesday night. Generally, we have a slightly bigger turnout. I think today, I think after 2 weeks of having high-profile guests, maybe it's a little bit of a letdown that we don't have a guest today. So we have Chiranta, we have Chris, we have Nisha, and I'm Chaminda. We have others who are sitting at the back who refuse to come and sit in front of the camera, who shall remain nameless, right? And I think before we get started, guys, I just want to acknowledge what's going on in Gaza right now. Untold suffering. I mean, it's such a complex issue. It's even difficult to talk about it, and it's very polarizing. I can see the discussions that are going on online. I mean, people seem to be dug in either on the side of Palestinians or on the side of the Israelis. There seems to be like a religious element to it and all of that. But the underlying issue is that hundreds and hundreds of people are dying, and most of the deaths so far have been children, and quite frankly, on some days when I open my social media, I just can't handle it. How many dead children do we need to look at every day? Because people are sharing this because they want to feel outrage.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think people like us, we are at peak outrage all the time anyway, right? Because we see every injustice everywhere. That's probably why we do this. So seeing that sometimes actually is overwhelming. I actually tune out of social media as a result.
There's so much of information, Chaminda. There's so much of disinformation.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. Someone, especially someone who has not been following this. I mean, we've all read the news, we've all listened, so we know bits and pieces.
Yeah.
But we don't have that knowledge.
I think part of the issue is that people are a little desensitized, right? Because this issue has been going for decades and decades and decades. There have been the first Intifada, second Intifada, then there has been, I think, 3 wars already. I think 2014 was the last time Israel, went in full force to the Gaza Strip. But it's such a complex issue. So you have Iran involved, you have US involved, you have so many global sort of geopolitical interests are playing out in this tiny strip of land, and add the religious element into it as well. And it's just a powder keg. I mean, it's. But the cost in humanity is what's difficult to, and honestly, I don't see where this is going to end. Do you guys see an end to this?
I saw, there was something I shared, Chaminda, an image, right? It was very, it struck chord in this. There's a Israeli guy, with a star on his helmet and with a gun.
Yeah.
And he's facing, I think, a mirror. And on the other side
is the Palestinian.
No. It's a Nazi. From that time.
Okay.
And that guy's looking at him with his gun. And on top it says, it's ironic that you have become exactly what you suffered. I can't remember the exact wording, but that was very very moving to see that. And I shared it.
Yeah.
But they have suffered so much under
they have. I mean,
and now the
roles are reversed.
Roles are reversed. Yeah.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, that historical injustice they suffered doesn't justify them reacting in the way they did. I mean, Hamas is a terrorist organization.
Yes.
A state and a terrorist organization are not held to the same standards. Terrorist organizations are. I mean, that is their whole goal is terrorism. So a state behaving in this way is very upsetting to see, and What's more upsetting is that the world order that we accept as the good guys, unequivocally supporting one side and completely discounting the other, actually puts people like us in a tough spot, because we look to moral leadership. And generally you can count on the UK or EU to provide moral leadership. And anytime we have an issue here, we ask the question, where's the US, where's the EU, why aren't you speaking up? Right, when there's, the other day the teachers were water cannon. Teachers protesting were water cannon, right? I think yesterday? Day before yesterday, teachers. Now, can we go and appeal to the US and say, hey, look what they're doing? They're water cannon, they're using water cannons on teachers, asking for wage parity. Right? Because now that moral authority is gone, which puts, I think, vulnerable communities in even more danger. And it puts activists in a box. It puts people who are fighting for justice, fighting for accountability in a bit of a box, because you're neither here nor there in terms of who do you turn?
The good guys have become supporting the bad guys.
Right. It's
Goliath, literally.
I mean, ultimately it's political. Ultimately it's about money and politics.
Money.
I think to a great extent.
Arms.
I feel it to a great extent. You see this rising tide of authoritarianism around the world, right? So you have people like Hungary, which is an EU member, which has a full-on authoritarian leadership. 14 years, Viktor Orban has been in power. Then you have the complete authoritarians, right? Like Putin or Xi Jinping, who are lifetime presidents. So I think, and then you have the gradient, right? And then you look at the Western democracies as the bright shining lights for democracy, and you always expect that they would do the right thing, speak up for the right things, fight for justice, accountability. And suddenly they have taken a position that is very hard to reconcile. Very, very hard to reconcile.
They're just empty platitudes about the Palestinians, no? But you can see their.
Well, I mean, it's dehumanizing. What's happening there? Of course, Hamas is a terrorist organization.
Yes,
it's a very, very complex situation, because, but Hamas also didn't attack in a vacuum. Before that, for years and years, there has been encroachments, there has been settlements, killings almost every day. There have been killings in the West Bank and in the Gaza Strip.
Trying to, because you have close friends, close friends who are now have relations. There's a cousin of mine who was messaging me and shocked that I'm more sympathetic towards the Palestinians. So I was telling him, and then he when he started sending me so much of this information, so that people are really, like you said, stuck in their, in their positions. It's very hard for a person like people like us who are not very involved in this, who are not to
look at it from the outside
and see who is right, what is fake, what is genuine.
Right. I mean, if we want to really talk about this issue, it will take us 2-3 hours. We need to go all the way back to the.
One thing. One thing that struck my.
Actually, we have to go all the way back to the Bible, to the Old Testament. Really, to really understand this.
There was, to me, to my very basic knowledge, I really thought, well, the Palestinians probably do have a cause or a reason, because if you look at the map over a long period of time,
Chris, Israel was created out of Palestine.
That's the thing. So Palestine
that was part of the Ottoman Empire.
It keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and Israel keeps getting. So to me,
they just come and take over.
So with the very little information I have, it looks to me as if Palestinians do have.
To give a little context, there was the Oslo Accords, I think, signed in 1948. Oslo Accords, I can't remember. Do you remember the date? Which one?
Balfour.
In the middle of Palestine. Yeah. So it's but the Oslo Accords basically created the Palestinian Authority and created a roadmap where there would be a two-state solution. Ultimately, that was meant to be what the final outcome of this entire process was going to be. But over a period of time, with war after war and uprising after uprising, that goal has become almost impossible, because both sides is pulling to the extremes. So right now, if you look at the government in Israel, it's a hard right government. And then in Palestine, in Gaza you have Hamas, and then you have the West Bank where the Palestinian Authority is in control. Now Hamas is a terrorist prescribed organization by certain countries, but they're backed by Iran, right? Iran backs Hezbollah and Hamas. So, but they were elected by their own people, right? So I think to a certain extent, Israel punishes them for that. It's collective punishment. So what Hamas did on the 8th of October was horrific. They came in, killed innocent people. 200-300 people killed at the music festival, right? I mean, some of the pictures are horrific. But that doesn't excuse the retaliation. The collective punishment of the Palestinian people.
It's basically to say two wrongs don't make a right.
Exactly. So
and then I have to. But the thing is, we have to remember what is happening in Palestine and Israel is also happening in Sri Lanka.
Yes.
If you look at the radar, if you look at how the Western countries reacted to Ranil. And his violation of human rights and misinterpretation of laws and abuse of power. I mean, if it was the Rajapakshas, 90% of the tweeting ambassadors will be tweeting about what is happening. This is unfair. That is unfair. As you said, teachers got water cannon, but you don't see the ambassadors moving, saying a word. I mean, that is the thing is Israel is a pet of this United States. I always say that it's
all money related.
Yeah, it's a geopolitical thing.
I mean, if you want to go into it, we can have a whole. We keep saying this, no? We go Chanakya, we'll have a day. We'll have
there's so much discuss.
So, but ultimately, I feel. What we should be focusing on is giving the Israeli people the strength to stand up to their own leadership, and then the Palestinian people to stand up to Hamas and say, listen, this is not what we want as people, because ultimately it's the people that suffer, because us from 5,000 miles away is not going to be able to make any. Of course, the outrage helps to a certain extent, but has outrage ever changed international policy? When the Iraq war started, there was so much international outrage. There were protests just like you're seeing now around the world. Did that change anything? It didn't, because those political positions are fixed, and it's very, very difficult. You think a US administration will turn on a dime and say, okay, you know what? Now we're gonna suddenly take a multilateral approach to this. They have very firmly stood behind Israel and said, no, this is our ally. This is you know the justification. It's the only democracy. We're fighting for democracy, right? But I feel democracy has taken a hit. Now if Russia tomorrow goes and attacks a village in Ukraine with phosphorus, can the US say anything? Because that's what Israel did in the Gaza Strip. So I think democracy has taken a hit. I think that credibility needs to be rebuilt. Because ultimately that's what we're fighting for. Right?
Whoever we sympathize with, be it Israel or Palestine, whoever we believe the information we have,
I think we should just sympathize with humanity.
That's right.
Exactly.
This killing of people and children.
War is wrong. To simply say war by either side is wrong. Taking life by either side is wrong.
Sadly,
it's the innocent people who get caught in the middle of all.
And the economic collapse. The big people.
The irony of all of this is that the most blood-soaked piece of earth is called the Holy Land. It's the most blood-soaked piece of earth. Think about it. Right? It's called the Holy Land. Anyway, shall we leave that behind? Because I think, but I feel fighting for democracy is worth it. We have to fight for democracy, because if you look at least in Sri Lanka, with somebody with an authoritarian tendency, we still have some semblance of democracy still here, and we shouldn't lose it. Right now, if you're an opposition member in Russia, for example, the opposition leader is in jail. Alexei Navalny is in jail. He's in jail right now. Alexei Navalny, the opposition leader, is in jail. His lawyer was arrested 2 days ago. At least that is still not happening here. But we shouldn't let it get to that point, because I see people venerating Putin. I see people venerating China. China is a dictatorship. You know, just because it's benevolent and people make money doesn't make it the right system for. I mean, I feel the best systems, although imperfect, is still democracy, and we have to fight for it, because that's the only place where stuff we fight for, like accountability, justice, you know, all of that is still available to us in some form, right? So I think, yeah, so it's still worth the fight. Although this has taken a hit now, I feel, the credibility of these people in charge. So, talking about democracy, Chris, let's move on to our first topic. Since we don't have a guest today, I'm depending on the three of you to provide content. To provide, no, you're absolutely perfect. Not an issue at all. Chiran, අපි ඉස්සලා මෙයා ගැන කතා කරමු.
Yes.
අපි ජනාධිපතිතුමා දැන් democracy ගැන අපි කතා කරානේ. අපි මෙයා ගැන පොඩ්ඩක් නෑ, I have to first point something out here, which is that
The leather jacket.
The leather jacket.
No.
I knew you'd pick up the leather jacket, but when this was released, the news was released, it was released by the President's media division. Now, this is a party political platform that they are promoting, right?
Good spot.
President's
Very
media
good spot.
division
Good spot.
should not be anywhere near this. I mean, he could have tweeted this out, all of this could have been tweeted out through the UNP official account or
His
the
account.
President's own account.
Mm.
Right? But instead, this is using state resources for party political work. I mean, I think this is right.
I don't know what's the definition of corruption now, but in the earlier act, using, working to ensure or for an advantage of another party or person is considered a corruption under the law. I mean, what was there already, I don't know what they have amended this to now.
Yeah.
And what has come out of parliament is also different from what they initially gathered.
Few years ago,
Yeah.
Tourist Board, they found that they had used Tourist Board funds for some party political work, and then two of the directors, who were private sector people who were on the board, who signed those checks, went to prison.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Nalini Nanak and Chandra. They had to, because they were compelled to sign, because they're signing, it's all Tourist Board stuff. I'm sure they must be signing so many. But isn't this
I mean,
something
the
similar?
irony, President Vikramasinghe stressed the imperative.
But then don't jump the gun. Don't jump the gun. We are coming to that. We are coming to that.
Light it up.
But
I mean, come on, what about a smart country?
Let's talk about the smart country.
Yeah, I mean, what kind of smart country are we in?
Does this mean we're a dumb country?
Well, it doesn't say exactly. We must ask the people who came up with the
What is the implication that we can be, if we're going to be smart by 2040, are we dumb now?
What do you think? One of the president's closest aide is Vajirabhe. And Vajirabhe, I saw him in a video. He's walking on the road and he's wearing a mask.
Since you were talking about Vajirabhe.
No, he's wearing a mask. He's wearing a mask. And then some guy is talking to some guy in a three-wheeler. That guy, is there a mask? He takes his mask off and gives it to him.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yes, I saw.
So smart country.
So you can't blame the president for having
the smart party for the smart country.
I spoke
and
to
then you have Navin Sanayaka doing his TikTok videos. So you can't blame the president for having it.
Chris has to get in this TikTok video into every live feed that mention has to come in. But let me quickly run through. So basically, the convention was held a few days ago under the theme Smart Country, Jayagamu 2048. It was a bit of a high-tech scene, like the president appeared in like a fancy video with Zoom, like kids on Zoom, and all of that. He made a highfalutin speech where obviously he referred to the past. This is the 75th anniversary of the UNP. So what he failed to mention was that in that 75 years, where he's implying that we are now a dumb country, which needs to be made smart, he was in power for 45 of those years. 6 times a prime minister, now a president, and he doesn't. Is it irony? I mean, I don't know what to call it, but the lack of self-awareness in that moment to give a speech like that, where you would actually stand there, and no mere culpas at all. I mean, if he stood there and said, you know what, up to now we failed, I failed, but now we need to change direction or something like that. But I suppose taking accountability in Sri Lankan politics is not really a thing. No, it's not really a thing. So the speakers were Ruwan Wijewardena, deputy leader, Akila Viraj Kariyavasam, assistant leader, Vajira Abeyewardena, chairman, Palitharanga Bandara, general secretary, Ravi Karunanayaka, I don't know what he is. I don't know what he is in the party. And Manusha Nanayakkara and Harin Fernando. So can I just read a little bit of the speech? So basically, he said in 1948 we want equal footing with Japan, the leading country in Asia, but today we are ahead only of Afghanistan. Therefore, the challenge before the country is to build a different, better Sri Lanka than the status quo. This is the best opportunity to talk about plans that can move the country forward. What do you think?
I mean,
what are your thoughts?
What are the plans?
I mean, just see how foolish this man is, right? He comes and says, Jayagamu 2048. I mean, that itself, that number is a failure. You don't come to a country and say, Jayagamu 2048. What is that? How many years more? We are in 2023.
Made these types of promises before. He has.
I mean, this is not the system change.
2025.
Yes,
when I was a schoolboy.
At one time it was make it like Singapore. Then
Around 2000, at that election rally, I was just out of school, I think.
Mm-hmm.
He said by 2025 we will make Sri Lanka like Singapore.
Yeah.
So I have absolutely I do not believe this. He's just a carrot.
Now we are only ahead of Africa.
I mean, just the concept of doing that things like this. I mean, the ability. Did you see the amount of people who were in that stadium? When I saw some visuals, it's very clear that they couldn't even fill a stadium.
Yeah, it's all.
Sugata Das, I think that was the venue was Sugata Das.
As many as possible. I mean, they don't have the.
I mean, this is
network anymore.
But that's the whole point. Now they are pretending. He's trying to show the international community that he has a base. People are fond of him. There is support for him. I mean, that it's like the SJBs are now coming back to the UNP. This is the picture he's trying to draw. But when you go and see that the amount of people and the amount of empty chairs for the UNP who got 30,000 I think votes from Colombo, not being able to fill Sugata Das shows that he has failed miserably.
Yeah.
Chiranta, you made a big mistake there.
Yeah.
Although he got 30,000 votes, Vajira Abeyewardena said that next election he's going to get 10 million.
You're stepping all over the
Sorry.
But I think one other thing he said was that building a country that protects democracy, human freedom, and women's rights is part of our Greater Sri Lanka program.
Who said? Ranil said?
Yes.
Ranil said?
Yes.
My God. Did the online safety bill was brought in from India or Russia or something? I don't.
So this is what I mean. I think his credibility now is at a point where this is just hollow words. It's just ridiculous to even listen to. Right?
Now, I think.
It's
a joke.
It doesn't mean anything.
Since you mentioned this, some time ago he spoke about how we must teach our school children Hindi and Chinese, right?
Mandarin.
But look at how the teachers work.
Water cannon.
Because you mentioned about his words, I just thought I'd bring it up.
Yeah, but the
you
thing.
Can't,
no, so he has no credibility. I mean, I think it's hypocrisy to another level. I mean, but he's always a man who prides himself on having historical knowledge. So his speech, if you went through it, is all about history, 75 years, 140, like so many big numbers like that. The only thing he doesn't mention is that he's been there for 45 years. And all this is just words and it's meaningless, right? It's empty, hollow words. Because
in short, bunker.
Bunker, right. This is something I've always said. Ignore what he says and watch what he does, because what he has done so far has been in contravention to what he's been...
Trample democracy.
Absolutely.
Citizens' rights.
Right.
Did he define democracy? Did he define what democracy
No.
is?
democracy to him might be something completely different. Or maybe he needs to define it in his terms. But the most interesting thing is that this quote here, okay, and I'll put this quote, the same quote at the bottom here, and I'll put it with this slide, okay, because I think here in itself, his words completely just fall apart. They just turn to ashes. Because a president who gets on a stage and says, imperative need to eradicate corruption, and then the speaker before him is Ravi Karunanayake.
I mean, what possessed him to bring Ravi Karunanayake on stage?
But he's going about to a chai shop, visiting villagers, asking what they want to buy.
What they want? Why is he planning to rob another bank? But I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous, right? So I think, his entire...
Can he fit into a three even?
but this entire sort of charade of putting on this convention where he's giving a vision for 2048 and to put this man on the stage is just makes a mockery of the entire process. Even if you were willing to give the man a chance and say, okay, listen, I'm willing to listen to you, and maybe you've learned and maybe all that wisdom and experience can take us in another direction. When you put him on stage beforehand, right? I mean, personally for me, that's basically that's it. I don't think I want to hear anything beyond that, right? Thoughts, Nisha?
Nothing. I'm speechless.
You're speechless.
I'm speechless that
Chris is really speechless.
Thought it was a good idea to put him on stage.
I don't think even here come to this. This is a very obvious thing. It's very obvious. But even talking about his, can you go back? Okay, that statement.
Yeah.
Now there's so much of information coming out about the corruption in the health sector. No?
Yeah.
And all these substandard medicine, bypassing NMRA, emergency purchases, people dying, people without medicine. What happens? If he's serious about that, right? Shouldn't KDA be resign? And should there be an inquiry? Do you give him another ministry?
We're going to get to that, Chris.
We're going to get to that.
No, but I mean, that is the right point. Also, other simple things like what's happening in the East, for example, with the encroachments and things like that. I mean, as a president who gets involved and appoints commissions and does everything, where he gives orders to do everything.
He got involved with that priest, some flight, and he was not put through.
Yes. Sometime ago. There was an issue.
Yeah.
I remember.
And that priest said, why is this president got
Doesn't
another
have the
deputy?
president.
Yeah. Mind you, he did have that meeting with Chanakya and the others, and he did give some instructions. Yeah. And that priest is basically flouting all of that, and he's still not arrested now. He's made very strong statements again.
There was a comment in my feed. This is that ඔබේ මේ සාකච්ඡාව රටේ බහුතරය අතරට නොයන බවට ඔබට නොහිතනවා ඇති. රටේ බහුතරයට ඇමතීමට හැකි නම් ඵලදායී බවට බහුතරය කතා කරන්නේ සිංහල භාෂාවයි.
ඔව් හරි ඉතින් බහුතරයටම
දැන් මේකේ මෙහෙමයි මේක අපේ කට්ටිය දන්නේ නැති හින්දායි මේ ගොඩක් අපි පැහැදිලි කරන්න ඕනේ අපි මෙතන දැන් සිංහල අය විශේෂයෙන්ම ඉලක්ක වෙනවා අපේ අර තිබිරිගස්සය උද්ඝෝෂණයේදී ඒ වගේම ලිබර්ටිපට්‍රෝමි උද්ඝෝෂණයේදී ඒතර මම මාධ්‍ය සාකච්ඡාවක් තිබ්බත් අපි කරගෙන කතා සිංහලෙන් කතා කරන්නේ. ඉතින් අර නමුත් ඒ වගේම අපේ රටේ පිරිසක් ඉන්නවා ඉංග්‍රීසි පමණක් දන්න කට්ටිය ඉන්නවා සිංහල තේරුම් ගන්න අමාරු පිරිස් ඉන්නවා. ඉතින් ඒ මොකද බහුආගමික බහුවාර්ගික රටක්. ඉතින් අපි එතකොට මේ platform එක ගේන්න හදන්නේ ගොඩක් වෙලාවට ඒ අයට.
තව එකක් කියන්න ඕන. අපි මේක පටන් ගත්තී. අපි ඉස්සර ඉතින් දැන් දවස් 200 අද 230නේ. අපි මේක කරේ තිබිරිගස්සය පාර අයිනේ. දැන් අපි මේක පටන් ගත්තේ. චමින්දගේ තමයි අදහස. මේක අපි පටන් ගත්තේ මේ අපිට තේරුණා මේ සිංහල භාෂාවෙන් මේ දේශපාලනය මිනිස්සු ගොඩක් තියෙනවා. උදාහරණයක් වශයෙන් අපි ගත්තොත් අර බෲනෝ හසා ඒවා හොඳයි.
ඒ වගේ විතරනේ කොච්චර තියෙනවද
හැබැයි ඒ වගේ ඉංග්‍රීසි භාෂාවෙන් ගොඩක් අඩුයි. ඒක නිසා තමයි අපි මේක
ස්පෙෂලි මේ ඇක්ටිවිසම් පැත්තෙන් බැලුවොත් අරගලයේ පැත්තෙන් බැලුවොත් ඇත්තටම ඉංග්‍රීසි භාෂාවෙන් වැඩි මේ ඩිස්කෂන්ස් තිබෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඉතින් ඒක ගැන හිතලා තමයි
ඒ මාතිපාඩුවට තමයි මේක පටන් ගත්තේ. හැබැයි ඒක හොඳ යෝජනාවක්. අපි ටික දෙනා ඉන්නේ අපිට අපි කරන්න ලෑස්ති. හැබැයි අපිට මේවට වෙලා යනවා. හරිද? අර මිනිස්සු කියනවා වගේ අර අපිට NGO සල්ලි එන්නේ නැහැ. ඉතින් මේ අපේ කාලේ අපේ වෙලාව අපිට පවුල් තියෙනවා අපිට අපිටත් වෙන වැඩ තියෙනවා කරන්න. ඉතින් ඒ වෙලාවේ අතර තමයි අපි මේ කාලය වෙන් කරන්නේ. ඉතින් කට්ටියට අපිට උදව් කරන්න පුළුවන්. උදව් කරලා තියෙන මම කියන්නේ මේ සල්ලි ඒවලින් නෙමෙයි. අපිට මේව කරගන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි වෙලාව ඒව කරනවා නම් අපි අනිවාර්යයෙන්
අනිත් එක සිංහල භාෂාවෙන් සාකච්ඡා පටන් ගන්න කට්ටිය කැමති නම් අපි ඒක උදව් කරන්න. අපි ෆැසිලිටේට් කරන්න. අපේ කට්ටිය.
ඔව් ඒක තමයි මම ආරාධනා කරන තව කොහේ හරි. ඔව්. සතියේ දවසක් පටන් ගන්න සිංහලෙන් මේ විදිහේ සාකච්ඡාවක් මම එනවා ලයිව් එක දාන්න.
අනිත් එක අපි තිබිරිගස්සය ජනතාවනේ. ඒ වගේ දැන් අනිත් ටවුන්ස් වල කට්ටිය
ඉන්නවනේ නුගේ ගොඩ
හරි. අපි පැත්ත ගිමුනේ අපි සිංහලෙන් අපි පැත්ත ගිමු. චිරන්තයි අර
ඔයාගේ සිංහල හොඳයි. ප්‍රශ්නයක් නෑ.
හැබැයි නෑ හොඳ
ෆීඩ්බැක් එක මම මෙයා අපේ සීකේ තමයි කිව්වේ. සීකේ කිව්වා.
No, but that's a good idea.
අපි මේ ඇත්තටම අද ලයිව් එක පටන් ගන්නකොටත් නිකන් කතාවක් තිබුණා
සිංහල
ඉංග්‍රීසියෙන් කතා කරන්නම් කියලා. ඉතින් යථාර්ථය අපි ලෑස්ති. හැබැයි ජනතාවත් ඉදිරිපත් වෙන්න ඕනේ. මොකද අපිම ගිහිල්ලා හැමතැනම දැන් ඊට පස්සේ කියන්නේ හැමතැනම එකම කට්ටිය කියන හරියන්නේ.
ඔව් ඊට පස්සේ අපි කාලකන්නිත් කියනවා. jobless කාලකන්නි ඒක.
This is an interesting thing you have put in the background.
ඒක තමයි දැන් next topic එක චිරන්ත සිංහල ඉංග්‍රීසි ඔක්කොම වල බලපාන. අපේ electricity tariff එක දැන් මේ කට්ටිය දැන් inflation දැන් 5% less than 5% අරම මේවා කිව්වට ඒ කියන්නේ inflation වල calculate කරන්න basket of goods නේ සාමාන්‍ය නේද?
නෑ දැන් වැඩිවීම සිද්ධ වෙන එකට මේ පාර එකට inflation data වලට මම හිතන්නේ මේ ඒකත් එක්කම වගේ තමයි මේගොල්ලෝ වැඩි කරේ. එතකොට data collect කරලා ඉවරයි මම හිතන්නේ. මේ ළඟදී දුන්න මේ rates වලට. එතකොට ඒකත් ඊළඟ මාසේ තමයි
අපිට මේකයි මගේ පඩිය දන්න inflation 100%යි කියලා. ඒකයි වැඩි. මගේ පඩිය තමයි මගේ the මිනිසුන් අතරම පඩිය මතකයි.
I saw some
how do you pay for
මම ඇත්තටම චනින්ද මම දැක්කා food inflation has gone minus. While but general inflation remains at around in a positive area. Yeah. So until the general inflation figure comes to minus, at least by minus 0.1 or 0.001.
But you're never going to see that, Chirant. You know why? Because the rupee also collapsed. Rupee also collapsed. Rupee in general it has collapsed from 2019 to today, right?
Yeah.
And but the wages haven't gone up in line with inflation.
No,
inflation over the last
I honestly
so many
don't.
years. So we will never see deflation. Prices will never go back to what it was in 2019. All we can do is hope that the people in power will somehow figure out a way to improve the economy and make sure that wages go up. Right? Fairly quickly. Anyway, so electricity tariff after Kanchana in August mentioned that there will not be a price revision.
Other than for January and July.
Yeah, twice a year.
And now we have a price revision. So, despite the PUCSL initially rejecting the electricity rates, we hear that due to pressure, they were compelled to approve rates of approximately 18% to domestic users and 12% to industry. I see the impact at home and in office. Can you imagine what it's for factories and all that? I'm sure you can.
How can industries stay competitive? I mean, as it is, wage rates, cost is in Sri Lanka is no longer competitive. Then you have places like Vietnam and Bangladesh and all that who pay much lower electricity rates. We're going to outprice ourselves.
I just saw a video. I'll try to. I can't find it now, but I saw a video, a Facebook short video where a guy goes and spends $80 in India. Sorry, $10 in India, and rides around 80 kilometers in India. That is what in Sri Lankan rupees $10 is 3,500, 3,600 rupees.
Yeah.
Can we ride a tuk-tuk for 80 kilometers? I mean, this is the biggest problem. You see, cost of living is so high in this country, and they are putting insult to injury.
Well, I mean, Lisha, you have made a comment in that in what you compiled. You want to just mention that what you put right at the end, because that's what it ultimately comes down to.
Ultimately, why should the public continue to bear the brunt and the cost of corruption and inefficiencies in the CB?
This is corruption.
Now, if you remember a few months ago, there was, and I'm sure it was the only one which came to light, but there was publicized a letter of a employee who was due to retire, and she was promoted 24 hours before retirement to get a higher pension. I mean, that is how they're wasting the money.
Okay,
things like how many more like that we don't know.
Must be run a profit. We accept that. And I remember very clearly, Chaminda, the last time the price was increased by this high amount, the minister, Hansman, said that now with this increase, we can now run the CEV without a loss. So now 4 or 5 months later, why are they increasing it again?
And then he said, didn't
formula.
He say that maybe.
But they have taken the wrong data for the formula, right? They have taken the wrong data. I mean, I don't know that.
Also,
just so many different
like
things.
they are so easily increasing the price of electricity to consumers. What are the steps they have taken? What have they done to combat overstaffing, right? To combat spot tenders, right? To combat alternative. I mean, not looking at alternative sources of energy and going for
diesel,
right?
Thermal power,
thermal or renewable or whatever.
So none of that is done. But the easiest thing, increase the
prices. So they're putting the burden on the people. That's what they've been doing.
I just came into thinking about what has happened here. I thought in my mind. Now my mom's office, she's retired. She worked at the Export Development Board. They have a huge generator. I mean, the whole area vibrates when it's running. Like, it's a very powerful generator able to power the central AC and everything. Those days during the power cuts, my mom used to take me to office because it's very hot at our place. So when I was very small. So what I thought was, now these people are low because of this load issue. They are purchasing from these thermal power plants. Why they are also running off kerosene or some fuel? Those power plants are also running off diesel or kerosene or something like that. Then why can't the state sector say, okay, run your generators, run your buildings through the generators, get from the fuel, and then reduce the load and use, you can use the already existing infrastructure to reduce the cost. Instead of, because when you are hiring, getting power from a private firm.
I get what you're saying. That is just far too rational for the guys in power.
I mean, things like solar and all that, they are blocking it.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
They were blocking
renewable. And I suppose to have the best, is the best
in
location
general.
I mean, offshore.
So things like renewable is long term. What you mentioned about overstaffed, that is not an issue that you can resolve overnight. I mean,
what is that plan?
It'll take a while. It'll take serious political will because don't forget, the union issue will also be there. I mean, these are questions that need to be put in front of the people, and people have to be given an opportunity to select leadership that can go and solve these problems. Right? That's what an election is for. That's what a party political platform and a manifesto is for. Right now there are competing manifestos, right, for the economy, for solving various problems. But what's happening is we have a government without a mandate, a president who was unelected, making decisions on behalf of all of us, and nobody voted for any of them. This is we are ultimately in a place where nothing feels legitimate unless we have an election and resolve this issue first. This is the big national question. So for the president's good luck, all of our rotten luck, the state of the economy gives him a little bit of leeway. Because people are like, okay, we need to solve that first, and the argument about stability over everything else. Because we saw what stability crashing could lead to, right? That's what led to the Argal, and people rising up and all that.
No, the thing is, Chaminda, I have to say, just like we are misdiagnosing the incidents that led to the Aragalaya. Politicians are misdiagnosing it now. They are trying to say the Aragalaya.
Politicians are gaslighting. We haven't forgotten.
No. The people need to understand. Right? No, the people need to remember now. Whenever I see a person who says to me, some of my friends also say, maybe we have to have this, at least for this time, and then we can talk about an election. There are people. What I tell them is this: look here. Stability, you want a stable government. A destabilized government comes because there is a rift between the people and the people in power. That is because the lack of people's mandate. You want a stable government, the first thing to do is to have the election.
Yeah.
Then you have a stable government with a mandate that will not overstep or clash with the people. Now what we are having is pulling here from there. There's a clash in the
So that's why all the pieces of legislation that has come out so far is to put people down and for them to stay in power because they don't have the mandate.
And also you said that you were mentioning that he has a leeway because of the situation in the country. I mean, then you wonder why doesn't he have an election, then he can have a because now one of the excuses given is he doesn't have the seats in parliament, so he's treading a difficult position because the court who have the seats
because
not the parliament.
Because
so that again is also a protection for him in a way because he doesn't have to perform because he can always blame it on I can't do anything, my hands are tied, I'm doing the best I can.
Yeah. Well, so in the meantime we have to deal with things like this. We have to deal with
Kanchan is abroad, I think. I tried
absolutely no.
I wanted to ask him about his tweet actually, and he was abroad.
But there's nothing. They just say something like that. 2 months they increase and they don't. There's no accountability. There's no.
Right.
And Jamil, what is our media doing? Why don't our media question these politicians?
That's a whole other
That's a big problem.
What are the questions they ask these politicians when they come to a press conference?
Chris, I have tackled this issue long ago, from 2015 when I was doing activism. The media, certain media, not all media, certain medias try to be the narrative, try to create the narrative, try to influence the narrative. And they sometimes go to the level where that people like me are talking about the topics they give and their way. And then there are medias who try to, be a change in our society. There were people, media journalists who would go to Sirikota and cross-question those people would get up and go to the level of that level. But what happened is, then they were blocked from coming into those places. This is the
So we know.
This is the reality.
But we know the media landscape, right? If the media did their job, we are not needed.
Yeah.
We are not needed to speak out because we know that there's good journalists out there who's going to put their necks on the line. We know there are good journalists like that. But they suffer consequences.
Exactly.
They lose their positions, they get kicked out, they have to resort to independent media or social media or these types of channels to make themselves known. Tharindu Jayawardhan, right? Tharindu had to put his neck on the line to expose the Dr. Shafi affair. And what did he get in return? He lost his job, right? He had to leave his job because the paper wouldn't publish what he had to say. So journalists with integrity.
We have
to make big sacrifices because we know who the media is owned by. So
if there is a journalist who wants to do something, even I am there with a page. We can do, but the thing is.
No, but Chiranta, people who pay attention to us are the people who are already paying attention.
Yeah. The mainstream media is that who need to publish.
There are people who don't even watch news. Yeah. Right now, I know people who tell me I'm not interested in politics. So my reply to that is, it's not about being interested in politics. This is the world you live in.
If you're not interested, then you're going to be.
You're not living in a bubble or a vacuum. You live with people. There are policies. There are parties. There are positions. You have to be involved.
Engaged.
You don't have to be so deeply engaged like us, but you should be aware broadly what's going on. Recently, one of my colleagues' husband was hospitalized, and some medicine that was given to him reacted badly because, and he got pretty badly sick. So then I was explaining about the health crisis and like this and that, and they're importing bad medicine.
I mean, we had an example where the son of one of our TGY people, he reacted to the anesthetic and he had a terrible allergic reaction and he had to go on intravenous.
Right. So this is a similar case like that.
Yeah.
So I had to like literally break it down and explain why he's going through this, and to try to connect the dots. It's because of the disengagement that they are, the fact that they are not engaged enables people like this. So let's move to the next topic now that we're on the subject.
Kill Bill.
Kill Bill. So we had a mini cabinet reshuffle. But Ranil's boss Namal has already said he's not happy with it. So I don't know how long. I don't know how long this
sliding.
This will last. But
I think it's a drama.
Yeah.
But look, at the end of the day, instead of facing consequences for everything that's happening in the health sector,
he was rewarded.
He's rewarded with another ministry. At least put him in the backbenchers. Isn't there other terrible people to put in that position? There are plenty of other, there's a rogues gallery to choose from, right? But this is the political culture. Yeah. This is the one that we keep screaming about. This is the culture that needs to change.
What Namal was saying was, President should have done this after discussions with the parties. Yeah, but the thing is this, discussions with parties for what I am asking? I am asking for what? Your person did a wrong thing, so we are not going to do like this, we are going to do like this.
But they exonerated him.
Yeah,
there was a no confidence motion, he was exonerated.
He was not exonerated, they just voted against it.
Against it, which means they're exonerating him, right? By implication, they're saying there's no crisis, that he did nothing wrong.
I'm sure the current people who voted in pro for that, like to keep Kalia, would come one day and say, no, we didn't do it, it was a party decision. There are so many explanations these politicians can give.
But there's something called personal responsibility.
Right? Nama saying, all that I think is just a drama.
It's a drama.
I don't believe any of that. I believe that the board tour crooks, 134, they need Ranil Wickremesinghe.
I saw somewhere.
Wickremesinghe needs them.
I saw somewhere.
And you know what both of them don't need? An election. So they need each other to make sure that happens.
That's right.
I saw one somewhere, I don't know whether it is a current one or old news, where Mahinda had stated that social media, touching the social media is wrong. Mahinda had, answering to some journalists, he has stated that, touching social media is wrong. I don't know whether it's old news or new news. Anyhow, what you see, Namas coming out and saying, you shouldn't do like this, we should do like this. It's a very clear narrative that is the narrative they had from day one. Day one that Ranil came to be acting president or the prime minister, they had a narrative. So you go in a way that people hate you so much that the greater good. People will vote for the greater. Not like Ranil Adawan, Mahinda Mahathya, Mehema Hari kiyana, like that. No. Now Namal is getting they know that there is no perfect person. It's about people voting for the greater good person. So then automatically what Ranil is doing is paving the way for Namal to come to say, people will say, this man is.
There's no greater good in any of this.
But people, they are trying to create. They are failing, obviously.
But if I'm not mistaken, if I remember right, during the DDR vote, they didn't even come to parliament. No, they abstained from voting. Mahinda, Nama.
There was a few.
I think they abstained. They knew they would pass it, but I think if I'm not mistaken, they abstained from voting, so that they can tell their electorate, we didn't vote for it.
Yeah.
What is not against? What is not? There's a quote to say from the Bible. I think what is not against us is for us. But then, if you don't vote against it, you are for it.
Of course, the enemy. But right, that's not a.
Yeah. So the bottom line is that now he's in the environment ministry.
Environment.
Exactly.
I think this Travis who shared that WhatsApp message was so funny. Travis, the Undertaker Association, saying that they were very happy with.
Yeah. So, I mean, all of this is rage-inducing. No? Sometimes when you to think about. So I mean, let's hope
the poor trees will have to go to the UN. I hope it doesn't happen.
Actually, there have been all the cartoonists pretty much had the same thought. If you look at all the different cartoons that came out,
I must say, even though our journalists are lacking a lot of
cartoonists are
cartoonists
so he's like the grim reaper of whichever ministry that he ends up in.
I want to share a personal view about Kehelia. One of my friends have a friend who is suffering from cancer, and there's a drug that was missing, and that they couldn't find it. I went all over the place in Colombo to find it. I couldn't find it. Then I told him I'll just send a message to Kehelia and see. That night around 11 o'clock at night, he called me, Kehelia. Chiranta, I will see whether I can find it. I will call you back tomorrow morning. No call.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So anyway, is it worth even mentioning who the ministers are in what ministries?
No.
Not really, right? The only thing that we need to know is that this man is still a cabinet minister despite absolutely ruining the health sector. I don't think that's understating it, right?
And
that's exactly what he has done.
The latest scandal was that immunoglobulin, which they spent $43 million US, the cost of 42,000 rupees per vial, and they have now discovered that it is nothing more than saline, and the health minister admitted to it. And the order had been given to some local company which had no approval or legal approval to manufacture any drug, let alone this one. And they have forged signatures on an NMRA document as an emergency purchase to buy it. So who is going to take responsibility for this?
Given the gravity of what has happened, there should be multiple cases, people being arrested right now as we speak. There's a law in this country.
We have to ask the people, don't you want accountability in this country?
Is it till your son or daughter or mother or father gets a bad drug and then has a complication, are you going to say, okay, this government is wrong?
No, but it shouldn't have to get to that,
Exactly.
Right?
That's what I'm saying.
Why should something affect me personally for me to have an opinion about it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The people should act before this.
Right?
If you look at the crowd that is pushing and supporting our president and saying about about stability and all that, right? They're talking about stability and all that. You can see none of them will go to a government hospital.
Exactly.
None of them will be ever affected by something like this.
None of them will.
Right? None of them. Most of their houses have got renewable energy solar. They're not going to be so bothered by this.
There are people who are sold by a few points on a graph, just like those people who are bought by a 500 rupee backpack. It's absolutely the same principle.
It's very sad because when you know, it's not a fact. We know that majority of people are suffering. Right. They are. Right. It's not a made up thing. Right. So denying that simply because your little circle is okay.
It's one thing for poor people to vote or talk in support of a politician for something they receive. It's one thing for the poor to do that. It is quite another for a rich person to say Ranil is great because he has solar, he has purified watering systems, he has his electric vehicles and all that. And to say Ranil is great because you have money and you have the resources to put that infrastructure to be self-sustained or go off-grid and to come and say he's great because you're not even relying on the electricity or the water.
It's not a problem because it doesn't affect
him. That's quite a different story. A poor person voting, that is what you call asaranakam. It's helplessness of the people, desperation of the people. But then for the rich people, say Ranil is great because I have so.
Yeah. Now Chanakyan last week mentioned how people will vote for Nimal Siripala Silva continuously because he has given them jobs.
Yes.
All over the country.
And he has stuffed.
And all over the country,
all
not just in his
stuffed.
region.
Whichever ministry he's been at, he has done that for those people. So maybe he's out of some sense of loyalty or whatever, they will give him that vote. But like you said, somebody with means making some excuse because it doesn't affect them personally. It tells you about our system and it tells you how our government is actually captured.
It shows a problem in our social values and society.
Right.
It shows a problem there also. We are very, I don't know the English word to say, it's very selfish. We are very, there's a lot of people who are selfish. They don't care about others.
Each has a quote.
I have a quote, I don't know whose quote it is, call it anonymous. Privilege is when you think something is not a problem because it is not a problem to you personally.
Yeah.
That's it, simple as that.
So I think because people don't get that concept, they can't also understand why people like us speak up for other people. It's like something that's alien to them. It's like, why bother? I have friends who tell me, why bother? Nothing can be done. I get that all the time. Close friends who tell me that. You'll never change. You'll never change.
But will you change?
Well,
you compared to 1 year ago, aren't you better off?
Yeah. So, but the thing is, Chris, if nobody tries, nothing will change anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Then it'll just slide down to where? What is if you kind of game it out to a conclusion, if nobody speaks out, where does this end? A completely captured government, right? Maybe a president for life. That's, if you game it out. Is that what we as a society want?
A dictatorship.
Right.
We
know where the dictatorships are right now.
I just want to show this video of Ravi Karunanayaka's live. I did a YouTube video because I'm afraid to publish it on Facebook because Facebook has so much of terms and things that they remove videos. So in this video of Ravi Karunanayaka's this thing, and in the smart country, this convention they had, their live feed is liked if you look at the reactions, the summary, we think, oh my god, these guys are really, people have reacted, engaged, and they have loved the president and
what from Thailand?
It's Vietnam. Around 90% of the people who have reacted to care, to love,
all of that.
and except for the ha-has.
Are local.
All the others are actually bot accounts.
No, so if you
and they're Vietnamese bot accounts.
Vietnamese and Koreans.
Yeah.
Vietnamese and Koreans.
No, because there are things called click farms and bot. Anybody who wants to look at it, go to his page. Don't engage, just go and have a look at it. If you look at all his other posts, there's no engagement. Maybe 10, 20 people have liked or laughed.
This is the government that is bringing in an online safety bill to ban bot accounts.
Yeah.
And then they are using that to engage. This is total reactions are 5,800.
Yeah.
So 5,800. Come on, Ranil got 30,000 votes from Sri Lanka. They don't have even that now. They don't have 5,000 people to go and put a like.
Sri Lanka, the point is
that
they have to buy that engagement. They have to buy that engagement.
They do. If you are a real political party,
they don't have it. They have to buy that engagement. So I think that tells you everything you need to know about why we're not having elections.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't have 5,000 votes.
This is not a serious party and it's not a genuine party. I think that
shows. This is a big summary.
Yeah, and let's move on. Right. Quick comment from you. I put this really to wish her a speedy recovery. Right. I think that whole incident that happened, we don't need to really go into it. It was a shameful incident anyway. The fact that it's happening in a sacred place like a parliament, where MPs are using that language, where they're shoving and pushing each other, then the drama and all of that is just a shameful thing. And then also you have to bring up the point that this is not even a Sri Lankan citizen that's in parliament, and we have a president who doesn't have the
will.
I was going to say
something else.
Something else.
Then we can ask Diana to check. Diana has a way of checking. I think she said no.
Let's not go there.
Diana has her own method of checking.
But he doesn't have the courage. He doesn't have the courage to take some action against somebody who's in clear violation of our law. So, somebody who should not be in parliament. Now, nobody voted for her. She was the owner of the party that is now the SJP. Her husband was the chairman of that party. And then the political deal that allowed SJP to acquire that party also got her a seat in parliament.
Yes.
So it was a political deal that put her in that seat. Nobody voted for her, right? Nobody voted for her. So she doesn't have a mandate, just like the rest of those people or the president in that parliament, to be there. And yet, this is the kind of the result of having a person like this in that place, which is a hallowed place. That is the people's house. We send people there to make laws on behalf of us, and this is what we need to witness.
I just want to share a point out of. It's a perspective out of the box, right? If you look at this incident, and there's a SJB member involved,
two
members. Okay, two members
Three
involved.
members. She's still an SJB.
She's still an SJB member.
Okay, if then this is suspended. Two are will get suspended.
We don't know that.
Earlier, there was a suspension given on for 4 weeks for
touching the mace.
Touching
the mace.
And then, if you look, SJB is going to lose some seats, voter base in parliament, a voter base that might be helpful to defeat a bill in the coming weeks. It might be a strategy.
In realistic terms,
I don't think so.
Not really.
It's inconsequential.
They have 134.
They have overwhelming power in parliament.
They don't need to do that.
They have overwhelming power in parliament. So, I feel ultimately that's inconsequential. But I see what you're saying. You're saying it's a strategy, some sort of a plan.
Strategy because of possibly that there is some disagreement within the Pohottu itself. But
two prominent UNP or crossovers mentioned that on the day of the UNP convention, so many SJBs were going to join.
That they have been joining for a long time.
No, but on the day of the convention, they mentioned that on the day of the convention, nobody joined. Right? So they can't even buy MPs anymore by the looks of it. So anyway, I just want to wish her well. I want her to have a speedy recovery. We need her back in parliament advocating for prostitution and ganja, which is her main platform. I don't know any of her
keeping bars open.
And bars open. I don't know her policy positions other than that. Those are the only things she talks about. There might be some merit to some of those things, but even a broken clock is right, twice a day or something, right? So, so I don't think we need to put too much credence on that. So since we have few today, we have few slides. We don't have a lot to go into. So, Lisha, I took the liberty of adding a quote to your quote of the week. I took the liberty, but you read your quote and I'll tell you why I added it.
All right. So, in light of the political whoppers that we have seen in recent past, the president who, prior to becoming the president, and when he was in opposition, he said that GGG should be allowed to function and there should be negotiations and all of that. Within hours of becoming president, he attacked it. The second one was after the Easter bombings. Again, he was prime minister at the time. And he said he was going to bring Scotland Yard in. Now he's saying, and he went on Deutsche Welle in that interview and said that he has no intention of bringing an international investigation. So, lie. Yeah. So, presidential elections, now he's saying he's going to hold it next year. To be or not to be, is that going to actually happen? Can we continue to believe what he says? Or is he just saying something to make people happy at that time? And then, of course, we have Kanchana, who in August said there will be no increases other than for the January and July, and Patasi has increased it by 18% to the general public, 12% to industries.
Right.
So,
talking about lying, Nisha, may I add something there to what
yes,
please
do.
He spoke at the Deutsche Welle interview. He spoke about all these international investigations, China, India.
But
yeah, that's it. So luckily, the bishop's conference, who he tried to cause a rift, saying that he's dealing with the bishop, not with the cardinal. Luckily, the next day, I think they gave out a statement saying they are in one place.
Yeah.
And I think a few days later they said, now you mentioned these reports, make them public or give them to us at least. At least I think they should forget.
They should be public.
They should be public. Why just them? So today we have nothing. So was he lying? Was he lying? Or is the information that is in those reports, if it's true, is the information damning? Is that why he's not sharing it? So talking about whether we can believe this person when he comes and says at the UNP convention that he's going to have an election? I don't believe it. I certainly don't.
Yeah.
I'll believe it when it happens.
Yeah. So he has been very liberal with the truth. No? That's the only thing he's been liberal about recently, right? I mean, we do have an issue. I mean, if we can't believe our president, we can't take him at his word. If we can't believe our justice minister, he just comes out with things, and then that's it. About the bribery issue.
I just want to add to that. I'm now honestly, genuinely, I'm afraid that the election, what he gave was what he's saying by saying that he is going to have a presidential election. That it's going to be cancelled because everything he has said, it has gone the other way. It has not happened. When he said he is going to have protect Gotakama, it got hit. Everything he has been lying. So I don't know whether there is already he has plotted a plan to get rid of the elections already. And also about the accountability, I spoke to I had a chat with Ali Sabri's some secretary, right? He's a secretary to the Ali Sabri. No, it's not a recording, it's like a chat. And he told me, because everybody is saying that the online safety bill was, even the committee, that there were some names, they said, this came up during Ali Sabri's time and the Ministry of Justice came. Then when I spoke to him and chatted with him, no, sir, has nothing to do with this. I have a screenshot of that. They are saying Ali Sabri had nothing to do with the online safety bill, but the RTI request unveiled that it was drafted completed near 2021 third.
So we have a credibility issue with our leaders, people that we have elected. I mean, they're not genuine about anything that comes out of their mouth.
Multiple fora.
Our
president, especially overseas. He has spoken about his house being burnt and losing it. No, this is something very serious, Chan. I'm going to say, just tell me, what do you think, guys? And he has spoken about this overseas. My house was burnt, I lost my house, what am I supposed to do? These are things he has not just in Sri Lanka, out of Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Now, he is a Minister of Defence. We say it happened, I think when it happened, he was Prime Minister. Anyway.
Yeah, he was Prime Minister.
Now, since it happened, it's now 1.5 years now. He is a Minister of Defence. Right? We have one of the best intelligence gathering organizations. I think one of the best in definitely in the region, right? I mean, we were able to defeat the world's most atrocious terrorist outfit. So you mean to say that this intelligence, this agencies that we have are unable to find those responsible for burning his house? I mean, the National Intelligence Headquarters is just like Chirandas mentioned, just about half again. No, about I think 500 meters away. Yeah. So where is the credibility, Chandra? I genuinely have it. Is he just keeping this like that unsolved so that he can go and talk about?
Anything is possible, Chris. anything is possible.
We spend this much of money on defense and national security. And if the if the president's own personal house, the person who set fire to it, or people who set fire to it, cannot be found, and so many people.
Well, I mean, with all the evidence we have about the Easter bombings,
I was going to come to that next.
And nothing there. That's why I put this quote: "The truth doesn't cost anything, but a lie could cost you everything." Mm-hmm. And there are people who have lost everything, right?
I mean.
It was a lie that brought in a presidency, and then that presidency, on a manifesto which was a lie, they promised vistas of prosperity, right? That's what they promised in a manifesto, then took decisions and then sold it to people using lies, crashed everything, people died, fewer queues, bad medicine, all of that.
Some of those people who sold the lies are coming back into politics.
And ultimately, they will, I mean, it's just a continuous cycle until we have the courage to break that. Until the people have the courage to break it. So I know we don't have an election now, but I think all of us should work towards the next election. That moment for like revolutionary change may have gone, but at least we should resolve to keep the worst of the worst out of the next parliament. I don't think we can keep them all out, but we can focus on a few and say these are people that should not be there. That does not belong in the people's house. This is our house. Take our power back.
I just want to say about this house issue. Now, Ranil's house was set on fire. There were so many other houses that were set on fire, and the police were unable to stop it. And I mean, this is the same police that is now there. I mean, there had been no foreign training given in the meantime between the time of this house being set on fire and now. You can see how the police is very efficient in curtailing the people who come to commemorate the 9th, the people who come and protest. I mean, they are very efficient in doing that. Their security forces were very efficient with the help of getting rid of GGG at near the president's house, palace. And then that is the secretariat. I mean, they have done. I mean, they are very capable. They are very capable. As he is saying, we are spending so much of money and we on defense, and they are very capable of doing this.
Yeah.
But then 539 billion on defense, and these officers are very capable. The police is very capable, but they fail to protect Ranil South. Why? They fail to protect GGG on the May 9. They failed to protect when GGG was attacked on 20th of July or something. I mean, and soon after he came to power, Ranil came to power. I mean, they failed. They were. I mean, it was done. Very efficiently they did, but they failed to protect GGG. But they were very successful in getting the people out. Trashing things, this is the problem. Is people don't understand it. These are all scripts. They are running scripts because
I think it's more than a script, Shiranta. It's the law enforcement apparatus in this country. Police, the army, military, all of that. Rather than dealing in law enforcement, they're handled.
Yeah.
They're handled. They're handled. There's somebody behind them that's handling them.
Do we have an IGP now?
And I was not wondering the same question.
Well, the Constitutional Council has.
No, do we have?
There's an extended IGP.
No, so that the new person wasn't.
No, nobody has been appointed.
So what is the state? What is the status? I mean, if our country is unable to select an IGP from the existing police officers, senior officers, and the previous IGP keeps getting 3 extensions. What does it say?
In a way, it's like a blessing in disguise in a way, because everybody who they have put up the candidates are pretty awful. The guy who's there is actually a decent enough guy compared to the guys who might replace him. But there's a crisis there. There's a crisis there because we don't have suitable people to take up that position. That in itself is a crisis.
Maybe we do have it, just that they may be decent cops and they don't want to put them forward.
It's the police dogs that have handlers, right? It's the police dogs and the horses that have handlers. Here we have an entire police force that have handlers. Right?
That's the problem.
And that is the issue. They are not functioning as an impartial adjudicator of the law, which is what they're supposed to do, right? They're supposed to be dispensing.
We saw the impartiality, we saw the former commissioner of the police, the former police commissioner
going and bending down and they worshipping.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's not right. So that's why I chose that particular quote. The truth doesn't cost anything, but a lie could cost you everything, and that is what is costing us these lives.
But going back to I won't read that because I think your quote is actually more suitable. But there is one that I do want to read. I mean, this is talking about leadership in this country. We need leaders not in love with money but in love with justice, not in love with publicity but in love with humanity. And I think that is sadly lacking in the top rung of our current...
I think we need to appeal to the parties
to put decent people
to nominate decent
people.
people, right? In a democracy, it's very hard to say put qualifications, you need qualified people and all of that, because democracy means it needs to be an equalizer. Everybody should be able to have an opportunity to serve if that is their wish. But the parties are not democracy. Parties are not a democracy. Parties have leadership, they have, so they can have certain standards and rules and guidelines on how they nominate people. In fact, this is something that we, in our very first document we put together as GGY, identified. If anybody wants to read what we stand for as a group, you can go to our Facebook page. It's pinned. We came up with, it's not scientific, but we came up with a bunch of things that we as active citizens would like to see. And one of those things is the party nominating process.
The caliber of people.
A democracy will choose who to elect, but then the parties can decide what rules they want to put in terms of nominating the right people for the job. That's pretty much it from us today.
Are we going to...
Exactly. So since we are winding up a little earlier than normal, Chris, we have time to... Let's remind people why we keep doing this, right? Why we do this. So why don't you go into your...
This is our list, by the way, but I just read it on behalf of all of us. Quickly, just a few incidents where the action has not been taken up against ministers and MPs, how the law is different to them and how the law is different to us. We just spoke about Minister Diana Gamage. She is not a Sri Lankan citizen, as informed by the Control of Immigration, as well as the B report submitted to court by the CID, by the police, and yet she is a minister in the government, and we can see.
In fact, they said that she should be arrested.
Did they? Okay, all right.
No, but they didn't.
They said that. Yeah, okay. But and on top of that, you can see how she's behaving also in Parliament, the language being used. All right. Minister Arundika Fernando, he instructs the Control of Immigration to release a Chinese person with a false passport. How can he do that? Then Minister Indika Anuruddha's supporters were behind the assault of the Omani investor / garment factory owner. To date, nobody has been held responsible, and the BOI went one step ahead and even was willing to offer the Omani investor a separate place to do his business. What type of confidence does this give her for the investor? The person behind the attack is not arrested, but the investor has to relocate to somewhere else. MP Ali Sabri Rahim, the gold smuggler, he smuggles 75 million worth of gold and 91 phones to Sri Lanka and gets a 10% fine of 7.5 million and is released the next day. He's in Parliament, and a few days later he's back again travelling abroad, probably do the same thing, right? But a French smuggler who smuggled 85 million worth of gold gets a 100% fine. How is that even possible? Former Deputy Mayor of Kaduvela, Chandika Abhiratnam, attacked popular activist Piyat Nikeshwar, and this is recorded on camera. Yet both are arrested and the police oppose bail being granted to Piyat, but they do not oppose bail being granted to Chandika Abhiratnam.
The mayor.
The mayor. Who was
the attacker?
Whose goons him and his goons were on camera attacking.
The perpetrator gets a free pass, but the victim
is further victimized.
Today Piyat says that there's no further victimized. Okay. Then Minister Nimal Siripal Disirpa. Right? I mean, we were talking earlier about Minister Kelia Ramukwala. His name should be added to this list actually.
Yeah.
How with all these crimes against patients, in the health sector, no punishment. He's just moved to a different ministry. Nimal Siripal Disirpa, the Japanese ambassador, informed that he solicited a bribe from Taisei Corporation. Yet a commission was appointed. He's exonerated, and he's back again there.
Can I just add something?
Yes.
Today there was a news article where the police have said if anybody solicits a bribe to let them know.
All right. Who do we inform? But there's no point, right? Now the
police. This is the news today.
I think the Japanese ambassador should be put in prison because he's lied, right? Right?
Don't give them ideas, Chris.
All right, Minister Prasanna Ranatunga. I mean, that is what this is what the public has to, the conclusion the public has to come to. Yeah. The Japanese ambassador comes and says that Imazipala was a bribe, and he resigns, and the president appoints a commission, and the commission exonerates him. That means, the Japanese ambassador is lying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, the Prasanna Ranatunga. Right, the court has found him, minister has found him guilty of extortion, yet he faces no action. He's still negotiating with foreign investors on behalf of these.
He's the chief government whip, right? Prasanna Ranatunga.
Is he?
Isn't he in parliament?
Premalal Jayasekara, Chokamalli, also known as Choka, convicted murderer, sentenced to death in 2020, yet he is released and in parliament. Then opposition MP.
He was Nidoskodha
by Michael.
Higher
Pardon?
No, Nidoskodha from the High Court, I think, as I read.
But the police, but the OIC who put pressure to stop his arrest is in jail today.
Yes.
Is in jail.
Yes, should you mention? Only in Sri Lanka. Opposition MP, TNA MP Gajan Ponnambalam was arrested for an argument with a plainclothes CID officer who refused to identify himself. This is in the east. But then we had, that is the opposition MP, then we had the minister, Jeevan Thondamalam of the CWC. He threatened the police officer with death on camera, no action against him. Commission report finds Minister Lohan Ratpath guilty of crimes when he made his unauthorized visit to the barricaded prison and he intimidated prisoners there with a pistol. Yeah?
And he was drunk as well.
Drunk as well. Police spokesman says he can be arrested only if cabinet gives permission. So Sama special. Ekaratak Ekanithiak is clearly not for these people. Okay, let's go on to killings, disappearances and injuries caused to prominent people. Now this is just a few, okay? We're just telling you a few. Richard D'Souza killed in a few prominent ones that come to our mind. Richard D'Souza killed in 1990. To date, we do not know who is responsible for that. Lasantha Vikramatunga killed in 2009. To date, we do not know. How can we go forward without knowing? Like, even to forgive someone, you need to know who killed the person, who was behind it. Prageet Eknaligoda disappeared in 2010. I think on the 4th of October, it was 5,000 days that he is missing. To date, we do not know what happened to him. Keith Noya, assaulted in 2008. Wasim Tajudi, killed 11 years ago. Dinesh Safta, killed, I think, over 8 months ago. Body exhumed once, body exhumed second time, right? Prominent businessman, killed in the broad daylight at the cemetery. Today, we do not have
a killer,
right? He's supposed to have tied himself to the vehicle and set himself on fire. No,
cyanide. There were all sorts of things, but then the second autopsy disproved the.
Yeah, I just
don't do repeat because
because he is a witness. He witnessed. I put this onto my hand and I broke it.
No, he did it. He could tighten it.
I'm just injured because of that. But the thing is, my point is that I may try to make was, if this type of cable tie, this width, that is what you get in the normal, shops. If this was used, I don't see how he was restrained unless he was subdued or he was not conscious enough for capacity. He was incapacitated. Unless he was incapacitated, this type of cable tie is not going to hold a man down.
He wore one earlier and he broke it.
Yeah, I just put it in and I broke it.
Yeah, of course he hurt himself.
In the process, so I don't want to repeat it.
Let's go to the most important of this thing. I mean, when I say most important, I mean most gruesome and the most heinous, if that was used, and we know now it was used to get a benefit for someone to politically. Easter attacks, 4.5 years ago, 269 plus lives lost. Right? The president,
numerous families destroyed as a result.
Our president at the time, 1.5 years ago, said that we will get a foreign. He specifically mentioned Scotland Yard involved. Right? He specifically mentioned that. Now, 1.5 years later, says on Deutsche Welle interview that no foreign investigation will be allowed, and he says it was an internal matter. Right? It was an internal matter. He says. Right? Right? That means we talked about these foreign terrorist organizations, all that. So now his president is confident that it's an internal matter, and he also refers to all these foreign agencies, foreign countries, and their agencies which have given reports. which we didn't know about till 1.5 months ago. Or no, till the 1 month, that couple of weeks ago, that Commissioner interview. But still, that's not made public, although the Archbishop's Conference has requested for that. So those are killings, disappearance, Bishop's Conference. Then unsolved scams. In a country that is bankrupt, right? The easiest thing is to do the domestic debt restructuring, taking the working people who have no voice, no individual voice, the provident fund, right? Whereas the financial institutions and all are not touched.
Banks.
But People's Bank wrote off 54 billion rupees as bad loans, right? It was in
Prepared to roll, right?
They have written it off. It's written off. How can that happen? Right? Like you mentioned, I think that's 1 year's summer thing. Correct? Yeah. 50 odd billion, right?
50 billion is 1 year's summer.
Right. So this has been written off. How can that happen? Who was responsible for giving granted these loans as collateral?
Samurthy was 5 billion, right?
No, about 50. Can we get a loan? Can we get a loan from a bank without collateral?
No.
Right? So, why can't this 54 billion be recovered if these loans have been given with collateral? That means they are given without collateral. Who authorized it? Okay, you can turn around and say, okay, this company, the bank chairman, bank directors did it. Who appoints them?
Yeah.
Not us. Bond scam, 12 billion rupees. Right? We saw one of the main prominent people involved in the bond scam speaking at the UNP. Right? At the UNP convention. Talking about, he was talking about accountability. Anyway, then the sugar scam.
I didn't bother with the speech.
The sugar scam, 15.9 billion rupees. And I think Disha, you mentioned a similar thing, a maize.
A few months ago, maize. Again, they dropped the gazette, reducing the maize duty.
Another midnight gazette?
Yeah.
Maybe.
For a short period.
Garlic scam, inferior cooking gas scam, which killed. There was explosion, killed 7 people. Lost to property. We had who better than Tushan Gunawardena, chairman of the CAA. We had him here.
Executive.
We had him here speaking and telling us how difficult it was. After giving all the information out, how he was penalized. Right? We want more people to come out and speak.
Yeah.
What happens? He has given all the information out. To date,
and he has filed with the CID.
It is in the public domain. But he gets hounded. I think he was prevented from going abroad, right?
Yeah.
But the minister in charge, Bandulu Gunawardena at the time, Minister of Trade, Asant Adagiyawala, Deputy Minister of Trade, no action against them. But Bandulu Gunawardena is the current cabinet spokesman, correct? Yeah. Alright. Then import of low quality fuel, insufficient quantities of fuel which led to people dying in queues. Kanchana was a minister, right?
No,
he took over.
Alright, sorry, my mistake. Anyway.
No, he was fisheries, no?
Yeah,
Kanchana
was
sorry, my mistake.
Before that, who was the minister in charge? I can't remember.
Kanchana was fisheries.
Yeah.
Was it Ali Sabri? No.
No.
Okay, alright, let's move to the next one. Okay, anyway, that was a mistake on my part. Import of substandard fertilizer from China. Right? We had to pay $6.9 million as compensation. Mahindananda Arutgamage was the minister in charge at that time, right?
Sorry. Even during Kanchana's tenure, there were queues, big queues. Only after so many months later, after he took over the ministry, was he able to bring the QR code.
And let's not forget that while he was minister and Ali Sabri's brother was the head of the Petroleum Corporation, they
there was a scam.
Billions worth of fuel when people are dying in queues.
And this Mahindananda Arutgamage, who's responsible for this poor decision in ordering this fertilizer, which we have to pay compensation for, was the same Mahindananda Arutgamage who said on election stage that or in parliament that he will not rest until the main person behind the bond scam, Ranil Wickremesinghe, is behind bars. He can't sleep till then. But I think he's having a good night's sleep because he was with the president in New York.
Then he must have abstained in that presidential vote, no? Must go back and check the record.
So I mean,
no, it's a secret vote.
The public
Secret
who can see, the Nama Rajapaksa is coming and talking about, you don't know from where to laugh. Or, when they come and say, president is not in touch with when he makes this, who appointed the president? It's not us.
That 134 is a secret code where he got 134.
appointed by a secret vote. President shall be appointed by a secret vote if it is from the parliament. So, but that is why do we have the secret vote? It is this constitution of this country expects the people. I mean the people who are voting for a president in such case to vote with their conscience, not with the party line.
Yeah.
But they did not do it. Yeah. That is apparent.
Carry on, Chris. Finish it off.
No, I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done.
So that's basically the laundry list that I think we can add.
There's much more to add.
There's so much to add to that if we really want to. But these are just some.
These are just a few.
Just a few that have made waves in a big way. I mean, you know, if you want to add the anti-germ scam into that, right? I mean, there's so many others. I don't think we'll have time. We'll need
erasing of data in MRA.
Right, exactly.
Data loss.
But yeah, so I think let's wrap up today, right? So thank you guys as always for being here.
We can tell our viewers that we've already got someone from the estate.
Yeah.
We subsequently got someone from TNA.
Yes, we've had Harsha De Silva here. We've had Shanakin Rasamanikam here.
And our plan is to
on the 22nd of November, we will have Harini Amarasuri here. Dr. Harini Amarasuri will be here. And in between, we are working on a few other guests to help us understand the.
Do you have wheelchair access?
We have wheelchair access.
What do you mean? Shall we get Diana come here?
Yeah, I'm sure you'd love that, wouldn't you, Chris? You'd love that. But yeah, so we'll keep doing this as long as there's a need for somebody to speak up and continue to speak up. So thank you guys as always. Thank you, Leisha, for compiling our weekly talking points, and then Anu and CJ for helping us put this together. And Chiranta for coming and giving us further coverage and a platform. I think one day I think we should put Chiranta in the hot seat.
Of course.
And get him to open up about what got him into activism and all the various shenanigans that he's been up to. He might be able to do that, right? Because let him get it out.
Will one day be enough?
No, well, he'll have to contain himself, right? So Chiranta, maybe next week we'll give we'll put you in the hot seat here, so you can tell us
all. You can share all these texts, all the
stories, all your any voice clip you want to play that doesn't get us into trouble. But I think for tonight that's a wrap. So that's day 230 done at GGY. We'll be back again on Sunday at our usual street corner for day 231. And anybody who's around in the area, please do join us. Somebody actually asked us, where are the young people? Actually, that's a good question. Where are the young people? Why are they not
engaged?
Not that I'm calling you old, Chris.
Exactly.
But
call us all middle-aged.
But the things that we are dealing with affects them more than they'll affect us.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, this is the future that we're trying to build for them. So I think
that's also part of how it is, right? When we were young, were we interested? When we were younger, were we interested?
But I think we have a duty to try to engage more people, right? You're young, absolutely. So it was in a way refreshing to hear somebody like Shanakin, who was young and vocal, and he's 33.
33.
And trilingual, all of that. Yes, you're young, Chiranta. We will acknowledge it. But that's it for tonight. So that's a wrap. So thank you guys, and we'll see you again on Sunday in our street corner, and back here on Wednesday for day 232. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.